All right, well, hello, people of the world, and welcome to my channel, Sir Koolzalot. So today we are checking out a product called VIVI Cap by a company called TempraMed. They have a US address, but on the product carton label, they are listed as being the country of origin is listed as being Israel, and it looks like they might have their main address or offices there as well. So yeah, let's jump on in and see what this is all about. So yeah, as always, just quickly mentioning my disclaimers. All the information in my videos is my personal research and opinions. I am on a personal quest to find the best medicine coolers for my global and local travel needs. So let's jump on in and take a look at this VIVI Cap product. So yeah, just quickly flashing up the typical trips that I do. So a lot of cross California trips, a lot of around the US trips, and I also do quite a bit of traveling to Europe. So this sort of sets the criteria for the different types of cooler systems that I need for my medicine transportation. So here a little bit about the VIVI Cap, a couple of extracts from their website. So they've got quite a lot of statements in regards to what this product is and what it can do. So they list themselves as being FDA and CE registered. I'll talk a little bit more about that in a minute. There's a claim here that it protects 24/7, 365, with a statement that it's reusable for years. It doesn't specifically say 24 hours, 7 days a week, 365 days a year. So that's a little bit funky there. It's not specifying what those numbers actually represents, but you can I guess it's kind of inferred. It states that you don't need any batteries. This is interesting. We'll talk about that in a little bit as well. And a little bit of a red flag for me when I see products saying that they're TSA approved. Just keep in mind that TSA does not endorse or approve any products. They have guidance on what is allowed and not allowed. And typically products that are protecting or refrigerating medicines are generally always allowed because you have a sort of a medical exemption for that. And I actually have a little side tip video on that anyway. So when a website says that their product's TSA approved, that's already a little bit suspicious to me. That's kind of a little bit of a marketing gimmick. It's not actually correct. So then, of course, there's a lot of fancy stuff on the website around what this technology is. It's kind of a container, sort of a cap container system that's got heat absorbing super insulation material and all sorts of stuff that looks kind of space age and cool. So we're gonna kind of take a look and see how it actually does perform. Some more extracts from the website. So I was actually really just trying to zone in on what are they actually claiming. It was a little bit hard to kind of get to the essence of the claim. There's a lot of inferring of what it can do, but there isn't strictly very succinct statements of what it can do. And so it took a little bit of poking around. But so here you can see that they have a visual showing that if the sort of the ambient temperature is about 100 degrees or more, and the cap system can basically keep the temperature between 68 and 76 Fahrenheit. So that's quite interesting to note. There's also an interesting temperature sensor mechanism. So when I'll show you some videos of this a bit later on. So when you sort of click the button at the base of the cap, you will see a green light for a few seconds if the temperature is the right temperature, and then if it's not, it will turn red, and I'll show you what that looks like because I did a bit of testing with that. So interestingly enough, another now red flag, this little electrical system or electronic system does require a battery to power, but earlier on the website extracts that I showed you, it says no battery required. And it's many years of use, so this is a little bit odd because here there's a battery. That battery is going to drain over time, so now the question is, I wonder how long that battery is going to last. And then on top of that, there isn't any way to change a battery, so it's one of those setups where you get the battery that you have, and then when the battery runs out, that's basically it. It will no longer function, which is kind of maybe a little bit of a negative in terms of that long-term usage statement. A little screen grab from Amazon. They're selling this thing for, there's a bunch of different prices depending on where you look. On Amazon it was $110. It's quite a steep discount being offered there, so that's kind of interesting. It's a little bit more unusual. If you have a really good product that works really well, you don't really need to sort of discount it. The price is the price, and you try to optimize the price to support your business, but also to be as ethical as possible to patients. So anyway, I'm starting to get a few red flags, as you can see, as I start to kind of dig deeper and deeper into this product. So let's keep going. So more stuff from the website. So now there's some interesting logos that they sort of flash up. You've got this ISO quality assured, it says FDA registered, and then it's got patented technology, and then it's got some fancy graphs showing thermal cycles and how the safe zone thermal cycle of the VIVI Cap stays below the sort of the insulin hot zone. And then just sort of different visuals here that sort of try to give you a sense of how over-engineered and fancy this product is. Not in this video, but maybe in a future video, I might actually just take this thing apart and take a look at it inside more closely. But I didn't do that for this video. But you'll get a lot of goodies already. So let's keep going. So one easy thing you can do with any device that sort of flashes the FDA on its website is you can quite literally go to the US Food and Drug Administration, the FDA. They have a medical device section. There's a medical device database, and you can search it to see whether this product actually has any sort of FDA approval or clearance or exemptions or other things like that. So when you go to the FDA medical device database and you search it, I searched it for TempraMed, I searched it for VIVI Cap, I tried a bunch of different things, and there were 0 hits. So this is not a registered medical device. So just keep that in mind, and it's also not it doesn't have any FDA approvals or reviews from the FDAs or anything like that. So let's dig into what actually they do have. So what they actually did here was they basically registered their company as an establishment with the FDA that has various sort of device listing focus. So they've registered themselves as a manufacturer and a specification developer. So when you go to the FDA establishment registration database, you can see that TempraMed is registered as a company, and then they do list that they are a manufacturer specification developer for syringe holder adapter type technologies. They register themselves as a US company and then also as an Israeli company. And then, as I was mentioning, manufacturer and specification developer. The Israeli company also registers itself as a foreign exporter, and that's most likely because that's where this particular sort of container holder is manufactured. The the product, when you actually look at the product code there of what they actually registered, they basically register products that are classified as adapters, holders, or syringes. So these are very kind of low-level device classes. They're kind of level 1 device classes, and I'll go to the next slide here, and you'll be able to sort of see the details of that. An adapter, syringe, holder, it's a very sort of general kind of registration classification. It's actually, for the most part, FDA exempt from most of the regulations. They're mostly exempt from GMPs, good manufacturing practices, except for maybe some general things and so on and so forth. So this is a very basic sort of company registration, and as I mentioned, they have not received any sort of approval or clearance for this as a actual medical device. So just keep that in mind. So the website's a little bit of a show thing here, where it's saying that it's FDA registered, but quite literally all they did was register their company address as a manufacturer, nothing more, nothing less. So no, the FDA hasn't reviewed this product. It certainly hasn't been verified or validated for sort of claims around cooling systems and other stuff like that. So so just really think about that. And then also, I didn't put slides on this, but it said it has ISO stuff, ISO manufacturing or whatever quality. There's all sorts of different ISO standards, and so that could really just mean anything. Now, typically, if you're a medical device manufacturer, you are typically expected to post your ISO certifications and references on your websites, and so I couldn't find those on the TempraMed website. What I actually suspect here is that they perhaps used some manufacturer somewhere that's got some ISO standards, and they're sort of piggybacking the claims that manufacturer has, and they sort of just basically more like a reseller than an actual manufacturing facility. So anyway, I'm speculating on that one. Hard to say, but it's not all that important in the grand scheme of all the stuff here. So they somehow have a publication that they cite here and there. So I went and ordered the article. You have to pay for this, so I did you a favor and I ordered it. I didn't. This is just an extract. If you want to read the whole thing, you'll have to order it yourself. But it basically just tries to showcase that this is technology that works. And in the article, they claim that this VIVI Cap can basically keep insulin at an internal temperature of less than 29 degrees centigrade, 84.2 Fahrenheit, for a minimum of 12 hours without any external power or other things. And so that's the big claim that they're making here, and so that's going to be the point of interest for some of the testing that I'm gonna do. So I'll keep going here, just a little bit more from that article. What's interesting about the article is when you look at the graph more closely, and you try to zone in on that sort of the 29 degrees centigrade mark, it's kind of interesting because actually they have the 30 centigrade degree mark as sort of the line that they're monitoring, and at that 30 degrees centigrade in a 100 Fahrenheit environment, it takes the product about 700 minutes or 11 hours to get to that temperature. But actually, interestingly enough, if you look at this graph more carefully and you zone in more towards the 29, 29.5 Fahrenheit, you're actually kind of more in the the sort of the 500-minute zone. So it's a little bit hard to exactly pull the data statistics facts from this graph. And then they have this other graph where they sort of tried to simulate the device being in a car, and they had it at 136.4 Fahrenheit, and it took about 240 minutes to get to 30C. So kind of, this is their data. So just kind of flashing it up to kind of give you an idea of what this company's and product is kind of trying to claim. Okay, so let's do a little bit of a tour of the device. And so here on the left side, I just have the pictures of the what do you call it? Sort of the card that came inside the carton box. My camera sometimes is a little bit on the brighter side, so when you take the card out, you can't quite see the writing and stuff. So I figured I would just sort of scan those and put those on the side. And so really this, the box is pretty simple. It has some kind of a free gift voucher, and then it has sort of the instruction card that you open up, and then, as I said, there's the scan of that's on the left there, so if you want to read that more closely. And then the box basically has a bit of protective padding, and it has the VIVI Cap system, as well as this sort of cover shield, and also it has this it's kind of like a little aesthetic ring that you can connect to the device if you don't use that cover shield. And so I'm just playing around with it so you can kind of just watch how it all works and comes together. Yeah, and that's basically it. That's what you basically get. I'll give you a little tour of the box as well, so you can kind of see what that looks like. And let's keep going. All right, so now for some data. So this is just really a quick overview of how I approached some of the testing that I did. I did a lot of offline testing, and so I'm just sort of showcasing one of the test sets that I did here, so you can kind of get an idea. So of course I used the Vivo Incubator for simulating the ambient temperature. So for this test, I basically set it to 100 Fahrenheit, and basically put the VIVI Cap cooler inside the chamber there, and just basically let it run its course to see how it would do. Before starting the test, I actually put the VIVI Cap and the thermometer that I used inside the cap, as well as the little I have a little sort of tube that I was also using to try to emulate a little bit the size of an injector pen. So I actually placed all of that in a freezer in a fridge before I started the test. So I took I took the temperature down to 8 centigrade before I started the test, to really give this the best chance, the best benefit of the doubt on what it could do, what its maximal performance could be. I use a lot of temperature probes, so the little you can kind of see the temperature probes. I positioned them on the different shelves of the incubator chamber, just to make sure that the temperature was correct. And then for the actual device, I actually simply used a mercury thermometer. I spent a bit of time deciding whether to use like a probe. I didn't want to break into the device with any cabling or wires. The temperature, the electronic temperature probes that I had were a little bit too big to fit in the chamber, and so I actually just settled on putting a classic mercury thermometer inside the chamber. and just basically seeing how long it would take to get to temperature. And then, as I mentioned, I didn't just put the thermometer in the chamber by itself. I used this sort of plastic tube and to emulate a little bit the shell of an injector pen to try to get as close to the real thing as possible. So here's how it did. Basically, within about 160 minutes, the product reached 29.5 degrees centigrade. So in one of the articles, they try to compare themselves as being better than a Frios. It's like this sort of water bead based cooling pack that you can use. And so they have this graphs sort of trying to showcase that they're a little bit better than that. I actually did some testing on that package, technology quite a few months ago, and I think I'll go back and take a look at that data to see which one actually ended up being better. In any case, 160 minutes to get to 29.5 did not get anywhere near the claim that they were making that it could hold out for as much as 12 hours before reaching this temperature. So I think this product is a little bit of a sham. Okay, so let me show you another thing that's quite intriguing. So here are some photos of the full device, and then once I'd taken the VIVI Cap technology, once it had reached a core temperature of like 29.5 degrees centigrade, the little temperature sensor tripped, and so you could, the light basically became red instead of green. And so here's a picture of what that looks like when the light's red. And then, of course, next to it, here's just a quick picture of what that looks like when it's green. So one interesting thing about this is now I have a video of this with sound, so you'll hear me like clicking this. So one of the videos is a longer view, and then the other video is of the same video but just really zoning in on the temperature sensor. So what's going on here was I brought the device to a temperature of like 29.5, 30 degrees centigrade, and then removed it from the incubator chamber, and that temperature tripped this little temperature sensor, so it became red. The video is playing in real time, and so I took it out and basically started clicking the device every so often to see what would happen. What was interesting about this was, so it was obviously staying red for a little while I guess the temperature was still on the higher side, but the device was obviously cooling down. And so what came to mind here was what would happen when the device cooled down. What I discovered with this was something that was a little bit strange. So when you click the device, it stays red for a while. You click it and click it and click it, and it stays red. But then suddenly it stops working, and you click it and nothing happens. Oh, and in a moment, there you go. You see, you click it and it stops working. Nothing happens. There's no red light or green light. And I was like, what is going on with this? So I kept going with this, just sort of out of curiosity and to see, where this would go. And eventually, after about another 30 seconds or so, maybe a bit more, I didn't quite time this, it eventually starts to work again, and it's green. And so I thought to myself, oh, that's kind of odd and weird. So there's something funky. I don't know exactly why the electronics are set up to do that, but it turns red when it's there we go. You see, it goes green now. So now it started to work again, and it's green. So just to recap, so I heated this thing up to 30. in the incubator chamber. It tripped the temperature alarm. When you took it out, you pressed the button, it had the red light. After about two-ish minutes, it stopped working, and then after about another 30 seconds or a minute, it then started working again, and it was green. So that was kind of half strange and half interesting. The thing that got me most concerned about this is this. What I realized was that this little temperature sort of sensor system is really just a real-time temperature gauge. And so it will let you know in real time if the temperature is above or below the sort of the insulin threshold. What it doesn't do is if you have a temperature so let's say you go out for the day, you have this device in your car, the car gets really hot, it goes to 140 Fahrenheit, your insulin basically boils, later on in the day the car cools down, everything goes back to normal temperature. When you come back to the car and you press the button, it will show as green. And so it won't actually tell you whether during the day there was some critical excursion temperature that occurred with your insulin product. And so that was like, oh wow, be very, very careful about, if you do want to ever use this, just be very careful that green does not mean that your insulin is safe. Green just means that the current temperature when you switch the device on is below the insulin temperature threshold for good. But it does not mean that somehow, perhaps during the day or during the history of when you were using the device, actually the temperatures went way beyond the insulin safety threshold. It just wouldn't tell you, so be very, very careful of that. Alright, so that's really a wrap for this video. So for me, this one's a no-go. I mean, basically, it lasts like 160 minutes tops, so very limited thermal protection value. The temperature sensor does not actually record excursions, so if your drug product somehow got cooked in the car during the day, you would never know, unless you were actually there when it happened. The product also states that it does not require a battery and it lasts for years, but it actually does. It needs the battery for the temperature sensor and there's no option to replace it, so that's a bit of a sort of a design flaw or a statement flawed. And actually, I would say, when you really think about this design, it is inherently flawed. Like, so why would you only thermally shield and protect half the pen? I mean, yes, I get it. The drug product side of the pen is protected, but here, why would you only protect half the pen from from thermal damage? The other side of the pen is still subject to being warmed up, and heat does convect, and so the device is going to warm up quickly one way or another. And so I think the design is just really strange. Why would you not have a full shield and shell around the entire device to fully make sure that it's fully protected? The website for this product tries to give the impression that it's FDA, TSA approved. These are classic marketing tricks, to try to impress unsuspecting companies. A lot of the bulk medicine cooler manufacturers from China have used this style. I've somewhat forgiven the Chinese manufacturers because of language barriers and translations. You could almost argue that it was a bad translation, but when you have a US company or an Israeli company, they should know better. So this, I think, there's a little bit of a sham, misleading kind of marketing tricks going on with this one. And then also, if a product is really that good, why on earth are you offering steep discounts? That is just bizarre. And so, and then final note, watch out for products that have, really good reviews, but there's maybe only a few hundred or shy of 1,000 instances of those reviews, because you can use review farms to boost your ratings, and so really just sort of keep that in mind. Take that with a grain of salt. You need to be in the thousands to tens of thousands of reviews to have any reasonable credibility with claiming that you have great reviews. So just some side words of wisdom on that. So that's really it. I would definitely not be using this product for any of my travel needs. So wishing you a great day, and I will talk to you again when I check out some more cooling products. All the best.